about that. Um, okay, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, um, what we have in a song is there was a fight, an argument that was so intense that it really broke and damaged the lines of communication between the couple. And when that happens, it is very tragic. It is very sad and so unnecessary. If stubborn pride did not get in the way, this song would not even be necessary. Both still feel that connection to each other. Both feel that need for continuance. The love is still there. But for whatever reason was the fight, was the argument. Okay. Um, you have a situation where you are too, you have too much stubborn pride to contact each other. She's got too much stubborn pride to contact him. He's got too much stubborn pride to contact her. So what we have here is a moderator. This is a dynamic which happens often, sadly enough, where communication is so broken down, they need someone impartial to convey to the other person. Excuse me. Because one person thinks the other one doesn't love him anymore, when the opposite is really true. And that both people are miserable apart from each other. So, my feeling is this. If you are so miserable without each other, wouldn't it make sense for you to make the first move? You know, if anything, what would even turn out to be the best remedy in this is for both people to approach the other at the same time. Okay? But I've seen this in movies, I've seen this in reality shows, I've seen this a lot, where when you do get the two people together, they're still cautious against the other person. The wall is still up. The guard is still up. And because you care more about being right than you care about the other person, the other person's feelings, your relationship, your investment in the relationship, everything. Your need to be right is most important. And it's not. Because most times when we feel that we're right, okay, it's misconception. Okay, I've often said that the most important aspect of all communication is listening to the extent of understanding. When we can listen to the extent of understanding what the other person says to us, that plays a huge part and will prevent fights, arguments, debates, battles, misunderstanding, you know, um, if you understand each other and respect the other person, you know. But if The two of you are engaged in a fight, engaged in an argument. You both had something valid to say. And that's another thing. Sometimes when what we say is disregarded by the other person, we feel that what we said was invalid, and we believe it is valid because otherwise, why would we argue about it? Why would we fight for it if we didn't feel it was valid? But for the other person to fight us and argue, and your need and fight to be right, you're basically fighting for validity. Because for the notion that what we're fighting for is invalid, that reflects heavily on us. Because if what we say is invalid, then what else about us is invalid? What else do we say that is invalid? Once something is determined invalid, it opens a Pandora box of self-doubt about our self-worth. And that is why pride really hurts us. Because the feeling and the need for validity goes hand in hand with the pride. But we can have disagreements, and we can have different views. We could disagree, and yet we can still feel valid in what we believe in. So he believes one way, she believes another way, so they each feel that they're right and the other's wrong. And that's what leads to this kind of a thing. Okay? And if he says he's right and she's wrong, that means what she says is invalid. And when she says she's right and he's wrong, she's saying he's invalid. And I know this very well. I know this very well from previous marriage. So what should be needed here, okay, it's okay, I'm not really degrading the song or invalidating the song. I'm just saying there's a simple solution. There is a very simple solution. It is so tragic for any relationship to reach this stage. If you see him, tell him. If you see her, tell her. Well, you got a phone, call. Call the other person. I've heard this so often, it's almost cliche. Your partner is just as miserable as you are. Because you've had this fight. You've had this argument. So bad that you're not even speaking to each other. That is bad. When communication breaks down in that way, that is very, very sad. And each of you, each party, him and her, he and her, he and she, they both have the control of this. They can choose not to be miserable anymore. They can choose and say, I'm not going to sit here and think about her and be sad and depressed. I'm going to call her. And she should do the same thing. Instead of me thinking about him and say, if you see him, tell him, you know what, I'll call him. I'll call him. And what would be very, very funny is if they both called at the same time, and each of them got busy signals. Of course, that was before call waiting. But I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years. And I still remember a situation like this. I don't know, it was a TV show I watched or something, where a couple had a huge fight. They're not talking to each other, and they talk to their friends. He talks to his best friend. She talks to her girlfriend, and they advise him, call. He says, call her. She says, call him. And so they say, you're right, I'm going to call him. And so they call each other, but because they're calling each other at the same time, they each get a busy signal. And guess what? They each think that their partner is sitting on the phone talking with another person. So he calls her, gets a busy signal. He thinks she's talking to another guy. She calls him, gets a busy signal, and she thinks he's talking to another girl. When in fact, they're calling each other at the exact same time, and they each got a busy signal because the line is tied up, because they're calling each other and the call just won't go through. And that is they might put it on a sitcom, but it's really not funny. It's really not funny. So, my message here is, for this song, no, please, for the sake of your relationship, be humble. Do not have so much pride and so much need to be right, and prevent this from happening. Where you break up, you're so upset with each other, you can't talk to each other, and you end up talking to somebody else. If you see him, if you see her. Now, so anyway, normally I don't do a huge commentary about a song, but this song really hit me to the extent that this is so preventable. This is so preventable. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say, guys. And I hope I make a difference in someone's lives to prevent a situation like this. Okay, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon. All right.